Hello everyone, and here we are on our 37th episode of the Biggening Corporation, and unfortunately we are on day 3 of fighting with the player role center. One of our new goals for the day is to never underestimate the amount of time it takes to make a new role center. I mean, realistically, this was a pretty big list. This, I probably should have guessed, would be a week-long project. So we'll see how quickly we can get through some of these things today and assemble what we have onto the role center and see what's left by the end of the session. Some of these are going to be a little bit simpler to put together. Some of these are going to be a little more complicated. So let's find out which ones are which. I'm going to focus on lists today. We did a lot with the CueGroup functionality. I was looking, of course, at various extension-related things. It's been a hectic week so far, and I will admit it was a challenge to find the time to jump in to record today. I have not even finished uploading yesterday's episode to YouTube. I think the upload finally went through not too long ago, but okay, well. We at least got the CueGroups working for the various bots, so that was something. Let's focus today on some listing. So let's start with an easy one, see how quick we can knock it out. We're just going to make a specialized location list part for our inventory. Let's close up everything for the moment, and we are going to classify this under role center and make a new thing here called parts, because I want them specifically for role center parts, so it makes sense, right? Alright, so we have the location overview, let's call it that, because why not? And this simply is going to be based on location, nothing fancy. And we are doing a list part, and we need the list number, which is probably done. Oh, no, code on location, of course. And we'll bring in the name, and then we have some information that is relevant to our game that we should show in the overall list. I'm thinking the stock level, total stock, and then the I believe it's the maximum units. That is our main thing, so let's call it that. Sure. And then we'll also, for giggles, we'll include the assigned bots and our maximum bots. Yeah, that sounds like a good list. Plenty enough for role center part. So that'll be good. We're not going to do anything terribly fancy with it yet. We just want to get it on there. At some point, we might do some fancy indicator on whether it's advanced or basic. Who knows? Skipping it for now. Then we are going to do another quick little page that is the Bcs Item Overview. Sure. And this one is just off of item. It's only the items that players have researched and unlocked and are thus in the item table. So, I'm not exactly sure what drives in this list. There's probably a logic to what drives landing at the bottom versus in the middle. Because, for example, code on location was way down at the bottom, but number for items here in the middle alphabetically. So there's probably a logic to it, but I don't know what it is. Maybe we'll figure that out in one of our extension episodes. Okay, so description is always a good thing to include, but for some reason description 1 is down at the bottom. Alright, sure. Now, we've got in our item table some specific things that matter to us in our player capacity. Let's take a quick look at what those are. Okay, so we have quantity on hand, probably market price and minimum sales price are going to be our things to do. One of those, I believe, is a calculated field, possibly both. But let's do our quantity on hand, which is just inventory, but renamed. Yeah, it's just inventory. Okay, fine. And once again, where is it? Down here again for some reason. And market price is calculated, and minimum sales price is coming from our table. So minimum. Did we name the field something different? I'm trying to go quick, and that's not going to be very feasible if we can't find the fields. Okay. That's right. We BCS labeled these. Minimum sales price. I don't think we did that with some of our earlier fields, did we? Okay. Well, that's fine. It would probably be an idea to have maximum stock on there as well, and then minimum sales price, and we will also add market price, but that is going to be a var. So let's go to our item list. Now I feel crazy. It's probably under core extent. Yep. There we are. Alright, so we have a bit of code here we are just going to steal. And here is an example of we are copying and pasting code, so it should be a variable or function or method or something somewhere. Although this is kind of a wrapper around a code unit, so it's okay. Minimum sales price, and we'll just copy the BCS market price here. That's fine. Field definitions, copying, perfectly acceptable. Okay, so there's a really speedy item pricing. I want to do a list of the bots by type, but that's going to be a weird one. So I'm not sure that's something that I want to dive into right this second as we're trying to speed run. And season standings, I don't know if we have that. Okay, yeah, that's going to be a little bit more complicated, isn't it? Because we currently have our season list and our snapshots capturing what's going on. But I don't think we have snapshot bots. Yeah, that's cool. But I don't think we have an overall ranking system in place on that. So we cannot build a activities panel for something that does not exist. Alright, well, we've got some stuff. Let's cobble together what we have, and then we'll see what we do with the second half of the thing. So we were talking about having the wealth on the role center as one of the wide queues, as well as these bits of bot info. So there's our first tippity top section that is going to be a new group in the role center. So let's go visit there. Okay, player role center. And right now we just got this one single part, but we need to do some other things. So this is going to be a group, so that way we can set some properties on it. I don't know, overall overview, sure. And here on the CueGroup layout, I believe, is where we can select that this is going to be wide. And now, oh, no, we need to do this as a part, and then this group with the CueGroup wide goes in the part. Okay, that makes sense. So let's see. We'll call this, I don't know, player priority activities. I'm just thinking of breaking out the different parts. We have chart parts, we have lists. So yeah, I think actually these wide queues will go into player activities. That's okay. I'm alright with that. Let's do it. Okay, so we've right now got a CueGroup for bots. We need a CueGroup for overview, I guess. We'll mirror some of their language and call it insights. Why not? And this CueGroup layout equals wide. I started in the role center to incorrectly create a group. We want a CueGroup, not a group. A small difference, but it wouldn't have shown up as stacks, so something to be cognizant of. Now we've got the two little bot fields here. We can steal those up into our wide queue group, and then we need to grab our wealth. Now, we've got drill down on wealth, and that is a calculated non-flow field, much like the bots. Okay, not a problem. Cool. So this one will be a new field. Yeah, we'll need some snippets, sure. Snippets are good. And this one is the wealth snippet. Current wealth. Wide group, we have a little more room for captions, so that'll be nice. And then we can just do a drill down trigger, because after all, we need some complicated drill down info from the table. So drill down wealth function. Bam. Alright, let's stop there real quick and publish, and then we'll look at adding some lists onto our role center as well, kind of flesh this out a little bit. So now we should get a nice little wide group across the top, followed by a bot section that will have some information that we're going to debate on whether we drop it entirely. It is good to have the bot errors. Gotta wait for it to finish building. That makes sense. I got super excited, as an aside, I got super excited when I checked in the code changes from yesterday. It was, to the best of my knowledge, the first checked in code that on GitHub registered as AL code instead of Perl. So for those of you working with GitHub, make sure to check in your code again, because it'll be recognized. Hey, look at that. Alright. So we have our current wealth as a number, we have idling bots, and we get a little see more. If we do the see more, we see the bots that have most recently been idling. Nice. Okay. I mean, it's a little funky that this section is over here to the right, not squinched down like the main role center, but I suspect that that's just the nature of the layout, possibly. Yeah. Okay. So that's a little bit width driven. Okay. Cool. That's fine. Let's continue on here. Now, that's our top info that we want to see, and then I think the next two pieces of information that the player would want to see in a big way is the location and item pricing, because that's useful stuff. I do want to get season standings in there pretty high, but that is also going to be headlines when we do that as our next step, because I've never done headlines, and I want to do that this week. It's all about the role center this week, apparently. That's fine. We will have to probably spend the second half of the episode building the infrastructure on how are we going to have season standings. How are we going to have players ranked? That'll be fine. So let's get the location part and the list part on there, and then we also have these ones that I want to have the player see these insights of. I don't think the bot count here is relevant, but the bot errors would be a good one. I still need to fix the code real quick on here that allows us to select, say for example, all of these and acknowledge, because it only currently does one. So we're going to fix that in just a moment. Oh yeah, I definitely can't have error 404 just hanging out in my role center all episode. That'll drive me crazy. Okay. Alright. Fine. So now we've got some parts we've built. Let's get our Bcs. Why, oh why, are we not auto-completing today? We were doing pretty good on autocompletes and things. Alright, fine. Bcs location overview. And that is, okay, now we're gonna autocomplete? Alright, fine. Grumble. Oh. Alright, fine then. Item overview. Sure. Bcs item overview. Alright. That seems reasonable. Okay. Cool. And down here in the activities, we are going to drop the bot list because the drill down there doesn't make a whole lot of sense. We don't need to see the total number of bots at any given moment in time. It's not interesting information to act on in the rule center. However, things that do need to be monitored and potentially responded to of here, we'll call these situations. Why not? And we'll also put our delayed things here. Now we put a little time into figuring out the mechanics behind delayed shipments and receipts, so we should be able to just drop these into the queue stacks here. Delayed shipments. Yep. There's no special drill downs on these, so we can just say no problem and make the captions and our application area all is well in the world with that. Okay, cool. And then receipts. Cool. Alright, that's another one off the list. We'll publish that real quick. And then let's see. I want to do a bot info list by type, but that's going to be a funky little thing. There is no record set that we can do this as a summary by. So we're going to have to do a temp record underlying a table and a page on top of that to show that temporary record set. And then provide drill down functionality on the count to the bot list based on that type. It shouldn't take us more than about 10-15 minutes, so let's try it out. Okay, we'll see. Okay, cool. We clearly have a logistics problem going on in our warehouse. Whew, 999 plus. Alright, real quick, let's fix the ability for players to acknowledge multiple things. You probably noticed what happened there. So if I select a row and I select another row and I click acknowledge, only the row I was last active on is considered to be handled by this button. So if I click on 90 and I say acknowledge, no problem. If I click on 89 and 91, the most recent row I've clicked on is 91. That's the current record. Click 91 goes away. 89 is still hanging out. This is obviously bad design. So let's fix it. Because as a user, I don't want to click 400 times to clean up the error log there. So is that on our activity log? No, is in our error log, but where did we put the error log? I guess we put that under master company, but now players can see it too, so that's a little bit of a questionable issue. Alright, ignoring it for now. So here's the issue. Processing is looking at the rec, saying it's acknowledged, modifying it, moving on with its day. So how do you tell it, look at all of the selected records? And that requires a separate little variable for sanity's sake here, based on the same table that we're working with, which is the bot error log, I believe. Yep, BCS bot error log. Okay, scrunch that out. Alright, so we want the interesting rec, right, BCS bot error log. I don't need that to be temporary, but I do need to be that selected is what I'm going to just call that. So the way we handle this now is we take current page and we do set selection filter, and we have to supply a record variable that is the same record as the table that we're on. And now this selected will have a filter applied to it based on the PK that matches the user selections, and then we do our activity based off of the record set that is in selected instead. So what I'm thinking is if selected, yeah, we'll do if selected.count equals 1, then we'll just do, at that point, we're just dealing with rec. We don't need to do anything fancy. If we're not dealing with just 1, then we're doing something more complicated. And I will want a nice little message. So, ack message, which is going to be a label here in our local context that will be %1 errors acknowledged. And we don't need this to be a global. This is very specific to what we're doing. I'm generally pretty mixed on putting label messages inside of things this nested deep, but there's nowhere else we're going to be doing this acknowledge process from, so I think we'll be okay here. Then we need, not a region, repeat, thank you, selected. So I'm doing something here which we could do in a different way. I'm doing a find set, which should also be true, and then individually setting acknowledged and then doing a modify true. We could do this another way. It's habit, it's easy, it allows for better error handling, but we can also do modify all of acknowledged true and true. So modify all. What field are we changing? What's the new value? And should we run the triggers? To the best of my knowledge, this runs the eventing system off of this call, but I have not explored that lately, so I don't know if this is a good method to do things with events that might be watching for modify on that. I believe so, but we'll see. And if someone is modifying a batch of these, I would want some confirmation that is just our ack message and selected. We actually need to pull the selected count before, because we're about to modify that, and oh no, that doesn't matter. We're not modifying the primary key, and that's how we're doing the selection filter, so we're good. We can still do a count afterwards. Cool. There we go. Possibly bug fixed, but this is the general idea of things. This set selection filter, you can also expose that through procedures on the pages of things. So for example, if you're doing a drill down or a lookup type situation where you want people to pick a batch of documents or something like that, and then click a button, this set selection filter is how you can get back a record and pass it to somewhere else in the system. Okay, so cool. So now theoretically select more. Yeah, maybe. Okay, that's exciting. So check that out. I was worried about the count not working, but I was like, oh no, it's no big deal. It's filtering on primary key. It's also obeying the filter on the acknowledged here. So in our set selection filter, when we're doing the dot count, they are selected, but they no longer match that. That's neat. Okay, that's good to know. I didn't actually know that the selection filter obeyed the additional filters that were already on the record. So, we could do two things. We could either store the count when we start into a little variable and then spit that out, or we could try an experiment real quick, which I want to try an experiment. Set range on acknowledged. Clear that filter. because I'm just curious to see what will happen. Might work. I don't actually know. And those are the best experiments. When we're not being paid to be at the top of our game, it's time to experiment, right? For those of you watching along, I cannot say how much I was surprised that this daily effort to work on a hobby project in BC massively is improving my normal day-to-day use of BC development. I cannot recommend enough how valuable it is to do that. So that worked. Perfect. So now we know if you are already applying a filter and then you also set selection filter, all of those are combined, and you can remove the subsidiary or prior existing filters off of your set selection filter and still get the result. Okay, cool. So now, so I don't drive myself bonkers. Wow. Yeehaw. Okay, bot errors, 0. Nice. Okay. We have 0 current wealth. What was the story with that? I feel like we had to dial back our exploration of the wealth in our activities because it was complicated. Let's check that. Is that something that we should fix right now before we move on to other things? That's a good question. Oh, no, it's probably nice and simple on, we don't have the game set up for it. I like simple. Yeah, simple's good. If you give yourself settings, make sure you consider setting them. All right, we're doing good on wealth. I'm sure we're doing excellent in the standings. We will have to decide at some point, do we let players come back from negative wealth positions? Do we consider that an acceptable thing to have happen? Is there a floor if we don't? Like, can they go -10 or can they go -10,000, -10 million? What are they allowed to do? I don't even know. It's a good question. But, okay, here's our little list. We've got some nice info around all these. Cool. Probably all these delayed shipments or receipts are due to the fact that we don't have any bots assigned to anything, except for this one location. So that makes perfect sense. Cool. And then if we look at our market situation here, cool. Alright, we've got some different settings on there. I don't think we have any sales prices set. Let's check that, because I'm just making sure that we pulled the right fields more than anything. Yep, we don't have any minimum sales price. This means that they are not going to sell anything. We are currently in hoarding mode. Okay, well, that's accurate, even if the caption's a little wrong. Okay. Working. Cool. Alright, so we have, just to tick some things off here, we got that, we got that, we got that, and we've got some of this. So let's do, with the half hour we have left, we'll do a quick little bot list by type, and that's going to have to be a funky temporary sort of thing, temp record, because that's an enumerator, not a record. So the way we will do that is we're going to create a new part that is a new page, and this is going to be BCS bot type overview. I'm trying to name all these parts overview so that there's some logical consistency. BCS bot instance. And we're going to be changing that. None. That's actually list part. I'm sitting here going, none. Why do I have to set none? Because I forgot. Okay, so we are still going to need columns for sure, but it's going to be a little bit funky and different. So we're going to do bot type as our primary thing, and then we're just going to see a list of I just need a couple of integers or decimals, something that can hold our count value, and I think it'll be, let's do research points per op. Why not? Something just to hold that. And you know, a power per day, it'll be kind of fun to actually have that really be the total power per day, and it'll be really good to see the total operations per day of all of the combined totals of all those bot types. Cool. So now we are going to source table temporary. Hey. And now if we were to throw that onto our role center, a source table temporary means it is empty to begin with. There's nothing in this object. So we are going to need to do on open page. We are going to create a new function, and this will be function, procedure, whatever. Generate overview. Sure. And that way we can call this elsewhere if we need to for some reason. Cool. Yep. Now, one of the challenges that we'll run into that I'm not sure the best way to handle is this temporary table. It's going to populate on open page. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure when you refresh the page, it's not being reopened. So I'm not sure this will actually update on refreshes. So that might become an issue. Now, we're using research point per op as a parking space for bot count. We're gonna steal that, and we're also gonna recaption these fields to be total power per day. That sounds fine. And this is going to be a total ops per day. Now, when we generate our overview, we need the real handling. We had some code elsewhere. I want to say it was in the dispatcher, maybe, where we could iterate based on the different types. Oh golly, where was that? Jeez. If you think that I knew my own code, you would be mistaken. And that's a fine example of when a project gets big, no one, even the person who wrote all of it, can know the whole thing perfectly inside and out. It's just not feasible. Okay, so let's grab... what I'm looking for is I know I had a list of different pieces. That's because we had to use a list enumerator. It's in the snapshot code unit. Cool. Okay, so we had in a prior episode made a way to iterate through an enumerator's worth of stuff. So we're going to need the vars for that because we're going to copy some of the logic of that. Okay, and here is our code. So for each of the bot types, now it's relying on snapshot of bot type, which we are not. That's not the record we're on. We're on the bot instance. So we, in fact, are going to say record. Hey. Okay. Now we don't need all of these chunks of code. In fact, we don't need any of that, but we do need the bots list, the real one, since we're looking at a temporary when we're on rec. Okay, so now for each of those bot types, we are going to do stuff, but we are on the temporary table, so delete all. And for safety's sake, if rec dot is temporary, then right. Oi, JavaScripting my brain. If not rec is temporary, then error. What? If we somehow manage that. Just a safety catch. Anytime I'm doing a delete all on a temp record, it's worth putting this in first. You will save yourself a nightmare scenario, because someone somewhere down the road might just go, oh no, I'll just delete this, and then So whenever you're doing delete all on temporary records, just save. It's better. All right. So what we are going to do is for our rec, we have to have an instance ID, which is just going to operate as our primary key. We can use I because it's an integer. That's cool. The only fields that we need to populate are our type, which we'll have, and then the bot count total per day. Cool. Let's split that right, because I am not going to keep that in my head for the duration of the time it'll take me to write this little chunk of code. But that's fine. Okay, so bot type equals BCS rect BC bot type dot from. Okay, well, whatever. I don't know why the autocomplete wasn't working for that, but there you go. Rec.research points per op is actually going to be our bots.count. Cool. And then total power per day. Well, on this one, we can do a bots.calcsums. You'll notice that we're doing a set range, but we never do a record motion. Perfectly serviceable and fine, particularly with calcsums. Perfectly okay. Let's do power per day and ops per day. So now in our power per day, we can set that. We're not really on a record, so if we did modify or insert, something would blow up. But, or worse, it would let you. There we go. We are directly calling this on the fields, so if we end up adding research that modifies how much power per day after the fact, that is why we have a function call on this record for that. This may not quite reflect the current total correctly, but it is absolutely the fastest way to give the player some insight into that. We're actually inserting. We can do false. Okay, cool. That works. Before I publish this, let's put that on the roll center so we can actually, see it. Crazy idea. Print, and this is our bot type overview, which is a BCS bot type overview. I have been wondering, is there potential benefit to fiddling with application area and having it be player versus admin? Just as an interesting aside. But I haven't decided about that because that feels like it's complexifying the situation a little bit. Especially since typically I'm not really modifying the visibility so much as the editability. I'm pretty okay with players seeing almost all the data within their own companies. That's still loading. As an interesting side note, and I may point this out on Twitter, I get the idea of showing branding within the product, but when you're using the product, you almost never see this logo. It's it's up in the toolbar of your browser or whatnot, but you almost never see this logo unless something went wrong. And that, my friend, is how you build a negative association. We might want to address some issues around that. Even if on this loading screen where we do ... it had the brand here, it might even be better. But within the product itself, you don't actually see that logo. Hey, look at that. We have a bot type overview with nothing. Because, once again, I did the brilliant thing of creating a glorious procedure that I didn't call. I've got to add that to my mental checklist in my head. I really have. I wonder. I wonder if the ALint tool could watch for procedures that have 0 references. Because that would be cool. I am going to bring that up. Because I truly love Stefan's work on this one, and that seems like a good idea. So I might ask him to do that, because that would be posh. Alright, anyways. Help me extensions be a better coder. Alright, nice. There we go. We got 3 sales bots, 6 purchasing, an inventory basic, some research and marketing. There we go. Nice. Alright, I'm pretty happy with that. Caption could use some work. That's a little clunky. Same for all of these, but that's fine. That's okay. Alright, I like that. That's a pretty good one. Now, let's hit the bigger overall game issue. We should have a list of where are people in the standings. We theoretically are capturing some info about that in our snapshot, so we can capture over time where people are in the standings. What are we actually putting in here? Ah, okay. Yep, it's been long enough. It's been, let's see, how many episodes? It's been 3 weeks, and I've forgotten entirely everything that's in here. Cool. Alright, so what we have then is we've got season number, player number, date, and then we capture the balance and then some extra info that we can potentially get some visibility around things. For the most part, we're mostly not going to be showing that to players about their competitors because, you know, he's way ahead of me, or he's just barely ahead of me. How many locations does he have? Oh, okay. Well, that's my secret. I should do that. No. Just wealth balance. So what we need is we need a list of the most recent game date and a ranking based on the wealth balance, and we should probably just make it bold if it's us, so that way we kind of stand out, and possibly a couple of little fancier features, but we don't have to worry about it too much. Now, the capture is happening on the player heartbeat listener. So we should always have in the snapshot table today's game date. So if we grab table 887, and I do know that, like, I could, there is a run object, and we could just run this current table, but I don't think I have my URL set for that. So real quick, let's go check. What are we on for today's date? February 11th, 2030. Okay, so now if we go to our table and we filter on game date 2030-02-11, do we have data? We do. We have one little entry. Okay, well, that's not going to serve us very well for showing a ranking, so we may need to, in our very near future, we've only got this bit of info. We may, in the very near future, need to spin up a couple of more players just to be able to see how they're doing. Okay, well, it's nothing we'll fight with today. So I guess we'll just get a very basic little listing. I think we can just do this as a simple list part, actually, now that I've seen how this works. I should already, just know how it works, but here we are. Okay, so new page. And we are going to be able to just pull from our snapshot table, and we'll list part it again. We should add a couple little things here. For ease of adding this info and showing this info places, we have player number on there, but we don't have the name of the player's company. And I think that would be a nice touch, is to show the company name in the leaderboard. So rather than fight with that, the easiest way to do this is to do a flow field from the player number to go grab the company number, company name. So that way we've got it. We can just use it, because anywhere we use snapshots, we would want the company name, wouldn't we? So, and as it turns out, I think the company display name is larger. Not really sure. Let's see, and the caption is also company name. And we are going to do a calc formula. Let's look up to company dot display name, please. Where, oh, we can't do a lookup. Gosh darn it. I don't think we can do this the way I'm hoping we could, because the display name is on the company table and there is no direct linkage from the Never mind. The flow fields that weren't, strike again. You cannot do logical hops. So, alright, we'll do it as a lookup from code in the player company on after get record. That's fine. Flow fields are my hero, but they are, they have limits. Yep, so it was the standings overview. Hoi. Yep, this part. And I don't know. I would think that we would want to publish the wealth balance at that particular time. And we're really only going to show the company name, rank number, and wealth balance. So let's do that. Okay. Okay. So we need a little var that will be the display name, which will be a text. We don't need to cap it out at anything, but we do need a trigger on after get record that will look for company, rec, company, and players, rec, BCS player, and then players.get our rec.player number, and then company.get, which again, I'm okay with erroring out on all these gets. I'm usually pretty keen on if wrapping them. Here it's fine. Players.company name. Set company display name. Is that a flow field? Please hold. Yeah, it is. Okay, cool. So we can use it. We couldn't have built a flow field again, so I was about to be like, what? Static and then swearing in the background. So, company display name. So, yeah, we only need the player table, and we can just do that. So, we don't. Yeah, we'll do that. Players. We could just make players a global variable and then bind to it, but that's fine. So, field display name. All right. Whoa. Always fun when you get the surprise snippet and you have this giant monstrous pile of errors. Okay, so that's the BCS standings. I'm curious to see... we need to do two things. First of all, we need to adjust the source table view to equal sorting on wealth. Okay, so it does still require us to have a key for the sorting. Okay, cool. That's fine. I was wondering if that was going to let us in the source table view do a key, because you can set current key on anything even if you don't have a key for it, which I'm not super keen on, but I get it. Because the player can sort anything on the UI, so why can't you encode, kind of thing. Alright, we need this to be filtered on game date and then wealth. Oh, name first. Let's call this key ranking. Game date, comma, wealth. Balance, yep. Yeah. I don't need to cluster that, that's fine. Okay, so now source table view equals sorting, and now we can do on our ranking key. That makes perfect sense. And we will also on open page set the date filter. So that way we only get the current results. Makes sense. Game setup. Rec.set range on game date to game setup dot game date, and most importantly, we're currently sorting on this, but I don't think this sorting allows us to clarify that it should be descending. I don't think the syntax allows for that. Let's find out. Search. Okay, I didn't know you could have the word selected and it'll search for it. That was cool. Oh yeah, order descending. Alright, rock and roll. Let's take it. Cool. So, there we go. Alright. Fun times. Now let's add that to the roll center and see how it looks. Because one of the things that I would like to see is I would like to see if I was the player, am I 17th or 73rd? And I don't know that it's going to give us a nice little pretty number. So let's see how that goes. For now, we're just going to stuff this onto the end of standing overview. Alright, publish. Tick, 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 tick. I'm pretty pleased. We have at least now something that feels like a functional role center for a player now. It's not perfect, sure, but we're getting there. Now, that I wasn't expecting. So, what's the scoop there? We're not source table temporary. We are looking at BCS snapshot, which has data. And game setup. Oh, hey, I used a field value without moving. So it is filtering the game date to 0D. An empty date field. I may put that in as an AL suggestion. If they're going to watch for making changes to records without calling modify, I feel like it should be just as doable to add logic that watches for use of fields without record motion, whether it be a get or a find first or whatever have you. So I might put in a suggestion about that, because that feels like something we could have. And it's such an easy mistake to make when you're just going too quick. Cool. Okay. Well, I'm not dissatisfied with the standings here, but I really would want to see an integer of like what rank is what. What I don't know that I can do is do that in any way without making this a temporary record. So let's try an experiment. It's going to be a little tricky because our table data stinks. We only have the one company with any data in there. So I don't know that this will be something we can test today in a useful way. So we'll put this on there, and then I'll have to spin up some test companies. Ranking integer. So on open page, let's set ranking equal to 1. And then for giggles, we will on after get record, actually, no, we'll set that to 0, nice and simple. And on after get record, let's set ranking to equal ranking plus 1. I don't know that this will work the way I'm hoping it would, and we probably are going to need to mangle some things up and spin up some dummy data into our record set to get this to work in a way that we can test. So, honestly, I'd actually, it probably would be of benefit to us to record that in the snapshot. Oh, yeah. Actually, I'm sitting here going, we could try to add this in the display side, but if we want to do like Power BI to see where a person trends over time, we are not capturing that in the snapshot right now, and that would make a heck of a lot more sense to just be a data field that we can mine and trend over time. How did you do? Yeah. Alright. So we need a new field 100 rank at date, which is just going to be an integer. And rank at date is fine for that, and data classification for now, again, for now, system metadata. Okay, so when we're capturing the snapshot, we really should then take that snapshot for today and generate the rankings. And I'm going to do that as a new procedure, generate daily rankings. So that way our snapshot's all done. One of the nice little code units that I'm really enjoying, code units, one of the extensions in Visual Studio Code I'm really enjoying, you can create the function names that you intend to make, and then quick fix, create. Ta-da! I like that. Works really fantastic. Like if we wanted to turn this little chunk into a procedure, actually let's save this real quick, and then watch this. If we take this little chunk of code, we get a little light bulb, we can extract that to a procedure. Watch this. I was really pretty psyched about this. Register something, I don't know, whatever the function. Check this out. It detects what variables you need, including like if they're var, and it also will detect if they're temporary, and it'll detect what things don't need to be parameters but need to be vars within the local procedure. I was agog when I actually tested this out on the live stream. I totally understand why, I believe it was David, stopped by to tell me about that as the author of that extension. Just be like, you gotta show this, and I totally agree. That's amazing. Okay, I closed the code unit to not save the changes, and then promptly forgot where I was. Snapshot capture. Thank you. Okay, so now we have a simple little procedure we will run after the snapshots have all been generated, that we will iterate through this and assign where people land. So rank, integer, sure. Okay, this is in fact quite easy. So we just need to set current key on this to our game date, and here, unlike the source table view, we can say whatever fields we want. It will be more efficient to use a key that was actually generated. So we'll do that, and then we will say snapshot set ascending on wealth balance false, I believe. There we go. And snapshot set range on game date, and we need today's date. Go figure. I was going to be lazy and copy and paste, but I guess nope. Game setup. Oh man, we're just about out of time too. Okay, well, let's see if we can hurry through this. We might even config package in a fake snapshot just to test it. Game setup and game date. If you'll notice, I am once again trying to use a field without having done a get, so that would have been pretty smooth. So what we're going to do now is we are not filtering or sorting on our ranking, which is perfectly fine, so we can do a repeat situation on snapshot, and we are going to find set from modify. Loopy loop. So what we will do is a simple rank +1, and then snapshot dot rank date equals rank snapshot dot modify, because in theory this should be sorted with the wealthiest at the top, and we can just do right through, nice and simple. Cool. So now when we generate our rankings, that will automatically assign the standing to people, and we don't have to do anything fancy. We can now just our field page, thank you, and BCS, nope, rank update. There we go. And for simplicity's sake, we're just going to call this on this list rank. Alright, that works. Okay. Yeah, so we'll test this out probably in the very near future. What I will likely do is go pause my game's heartbeat entirely by just pausing the job queue and the master queue, setting the game date manually to the next day, we'll set the game to the next day, then we'll pause the heartbeat, and we'll config package in some dummy standing data against some players that we'll create first, and that way we can see a list. What I would like to do is I would also like to do some aesthetic choices where we color the lines to better indicate to the player where they are in the list. We might even do something fancy where when the page loads up, it jumps to where they are, and they can quickly see that they're, in 14th place or whatever have you, even if they would normally have to scroll down to see that info. So that's okay. We gotta test it, but I think we can call that pretty good. We have not done anything to filter this on the season, but we are doing it by game date, so as long as you're not trying to run 2 seasons at the same time, which will not be supported, then we're okay. Alright, that's pretty okay. We've got, let's see, these are not drill downs, so we need to look at what's up with that. So I'm going to leave those unmarked because that's probably just a quick fix. I think we just need to set the drill down page ID. And then I'm inclined to fiddle with the action bar up top. And we'll have ourselves a decent little player situation here. And just because I'm dying to take a peek at it real quick, and look at that. In the tablet view, that's pretty nice. Okay, that's okay. Yeah, I like that. All right. You know, how are we looking? How crazy is this going to look in the phone view? Well, let's find out. Inspect mobile. Cool. All right. So for the moment, we get the little lists here. Okay. We are going to run into some interesting challenges around tweaking this because this is the brick layout. So we will need to look at, do we need to provide better info in the brick format for items? And yeah. Ooh. Yeah, that brick format is not looking nice for our bot types, is it? So when you're polishing off your solutions, you gotta look at how do your lists appear in the different formats, because you don't know. Your client could be like, oh great, mobile app, and then suddenly they look at it and go, what am I looking at? Some of those are easy enough, like for example when we were looking at the item list, or say for example the bot list, easy enough. You can change the view layout here in CSS tiles and see already that looks wrong. Maybe actually that list is not bad because we specifically set some of those. I don't remember what they mean, so that's a problem. But some of those are okay. So okay, well, cool. We'll fix those little bits. We'll add some nice new little action things to our top, and then I guess we'll figure out how the heck do we do charts tomorrow. That sounds like a good plan for tomorrow. Apparently this was going to be the week of the roll center, so alright, we'll get there. Alright, thanks for watching everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.